Hey guys, what's up? This is Fran with Khaleesi, and we're going to do our first video editing tutorial. Just a disclaimer, I have no idea what I'm doing, so don't necessarily listen to what I'm saying. This is just how I've edited my photos and kind of learned over the past year or longer. Well, I've been taking photos for a long time, but I haven't really... only downloaded Lightroom like 6 months ago, so I don't really know what I'm doing yet. The first thing I do is I make sure my screen brightness is up, because sometimes I'll put it onto my phone and then realise that it's really weird colour or really overly bright or whatever. And then the next thing I do is I crop 4:5, which is the Instagram kind of best cropping ratio. Obviously, if you haven't heard about the rule of kind of lines yet, you should be getting your subject kind of right on that cross there, or you could even come over there, but sometimes I don't always play by those rules. I just kind of get in what I like, and I think the original photo, because I've just gone back and this was the way I edited it initially, so you can see the before and after. And then actually that looks quite orange, so I'm kind of glad I'm redoing it. So I'm just redoing it for the video. I will begin by maybe having a look at the temperature. I kind of like quite warm images. If you double click here, it will reset it. So I might bring that up just a little bit. I don't really play with the tint. I used to do like mad things, like kind of bring up the purple, but I don't really do that anymore. So I actually quite like this. I kind of like the exposure. I was shooting quite overexposed, to be honest, on the beach, but I kind of like the feel that shooting overexposed gives. Sometimes it depends on the day. So then I bring up the contrast, because with raw files you lose... Oh, and this is how I shot it. So I had ISO 400. I was using my 35 lens, which is actually a Nikon lens, and then I had my aperture. I normally would shoot about like 1.8, 2.8, whatever I could, as low as possible, but then you kind of lose some of the detail of the whole dog and you'll just get like the eyes in focus or whatever, so I don't tend to do that as much anymore. So anyway, bring up the contrast, and then I normally take the highlights down, especially if I've been shooting kind of overexposed, because you lose all that detail like in the background. Shadows, I'll bring them up a bit because Khaleesi's quite dark, so I do tend to have to do that. The whites, I just bring them down. Blacks, I'll kind of, I think they call it crushing the blacks. I'll crush them a little bit, because if I bring the shadows too far up, Khaleesi will look too grey. So I'll kind of go with what works with her and then overcompensate with bringing the blacks back down. I like clarity sometimes, but it's like similar to structure, so it gives like quite a lot. So I tend not to play with that right now. I like vibrance. I bring it right up and then I bring the saturation down. That's just kind of what I've learned to do. Tone curve, I tend to follow the S shape, but I've noticed that if you always follow that, it's just really not going to work. So you have to go with what works best on your photo. But I always bring down, and I always shoot with a white background. You can change it. I think it might come with medium grey or something, I don't know, but I always shoot white because then I can see the difference. Like if I had that right up, you can see there's no difference here, so I'll always bring that down a little bit. This will be, so this bottom area of the curve here affects the blacks. I think it's the luminance of the colours or the kind of highlights, shadows, rather than actually the highlights themselves. So I'll bring that down a little bit. I don't want it to be too dark, but you'll see what I do in a minute. And then my next go-to, I always use a radial filter. I have the mask inverted, and then I'll have it feathered out quite a bit. So as you can see, I don't know what on earth I was doing with that. Let's just bring it back to something like exposure. So maybe I'll bring that up a little bit. And then I just play with what looks nice. Obviously, if you do that, you're going to have a really big white ring around whatever you're using, and you can actually, if you press O, you can see where it's affecting. Sometimes I will go in with the brush and delete all of this kind of area around here and just have it on Khaleesi, but it depends what effect I'm going for. I kind of like this, the kind of effect it gives. so I'm not going to worry about that too much. And then as I was saying about the clarity, I'll bring that up on my subject mostly. Unless it looks too weird, sometimes it looks kind of weird. And I find that clarity and contrast are a good thing to play with and see what works best for you. I quite like that, actually. And every time you edit a picture, it's going to be different. Like, I don't know whether this is going to be interesting to see if it looks the same as the one I did before. And I go through styles of like doing things a bit differently. Oh, one thing I should have done first, actually. There you go, making mistakes. Is go to lens correction and get it to pick up what lens you were using, and then do this as well. I don't really know. I mean, look, you can see there it's kind of taken some of the fisheye distortion of the lens out, but I don't know about the defringement. I don't know how much effect that really has. And then I take my sharpening up quite a lot. I always bring that up. Like, if you come right up with this, it's going to make the photo appear like really unstructured almost. Takes out the ISO, so if you have a photo of a lot of ISO, you can bring this right up. But I sometimes just bring it up anyway. It's just something that I've learned to do. I don't know whether it's worth it. And then camera calibration. Sometimes I would play with this, but it can give some really weird... You should do this before you start editing your photo, if you're going to do this. So I'm just going to leave it like that. I've heard that using camera standard is the best way to go, but we'll just leave it like that for now, because I can't be able to play around with it again. And then effects, you can come in and you can do all your, like, vignette? I don't know how to say that. Vignette? I don't really use this very much. I mean, it's quite cool, actually. I do kind of like it. Let's leave it like that. Anyway, coming back to colour, you can use the HSL sliders and you can go and you can actually pick a colour, look, and you can slide it around, but I don't do that. Just click the thing again to get it back to normal. I prefer to come in and actually just play with the colours and see what they do. So because Khaleesi is black and tan, she can sometimes it can sometimes affect the colour in her coat. Oh, it did look quite orange, didn't it, that one that I edited before, so maybe we'll take this down a bit, but not too much. And then it just depends on what colours you've actually got in there. I don't really tend to play with this too much, to be honest. I don't think there's actually any blues in the water, so there's no... Oh look, you can see. That's weird. So yeah, it's not really affecting what I want it to affect anyway, so we'll just leave that. I don't think there's a way, like for instance, if you had green here and green here, I don't think there's a way that you can just affect the green in one particular area, so I don't really tend to... I mean, it depends how editing heavy you want to go. I don't really do much of that anymore. I used to go quite crazy. But anyway, I think I'm done, actually. Oh no, then I would do the eyes. So I have a preset eyes thing. You can do that here by save current setting as new preset. So I tend to use that, and then I use a smaller brush. I don't know why that's actually gone so big, with quite a bit of feather and like adjustable flow. There are some people that really edit the eyes. I think sometimes this can look a bit weird, but obviously with darker dogs... Okay, Khaleesi. Obviously with darker dogs, you can sometimes lose quite a bit of the colour in their eyes. I try not to do too much, to be honest. And then you always want to zoom out and see what it looks like, because sometimes when you're looking at it really close, you can't really tell how crazy it looks. I'll sometimes add a bit of warmth to bring in that brown, and you can even like do this, and then you'll get like a really nice colour as well. But then the problem is, you know, sometimes it looks very over edited, and I don't really like that. Clarity is interesting because it gives that like really nice shiny effect, but as you can see, the more you bring it up, actually, the more you kind of crush that. So try not to be too crazy with that. I don't want it to look too edited, and then you can see like the nice blue sky in the background, and some people will actually add in like the black, and they'll go around and they'll add the colour, but I can't be bothered. I just don't really know if it's very necessary, and then I just play with it and just see what looks good, because not even though you can have a preset, it doesn't mean it's going to work for every photo. So what do you think? So you can't really tell that I've done much, but I've just brought out the colour a little bit. So let's see whether that looked the same. That's your before and after. Let's see if it looks the same as the one I did before. Where's the one that I exported? There we go. So that's, oh yeah, okay, so it looks quite different. I don't know which one I prefer, actually. Oh yeah, okay, no, I don't. That doesn't really look right. This is a bit much. Maybe I should take this brush out. If you hold down Alt, you'll get the eraser. So let's just go and take, I only really want that on Khaleesi, because otherwise it's giving like that glow effect. It's weird because you can edit a photo, think you've done it the same, and then it's just completely different. I would probably just play with that a bit more, actually. Maybe if we take the shadows up and reduce the exposure a bit. I feel like that kind of looks better. And then just before I finish, I will come back and just have a little play here again. Just check that it's what I want it to look like. And then also, because even though I've updated my white balance, sometimes Khaleesi ends up looking kind of blue on the fur. And then I'll also maybe go into Snapseed, and you can just select. No. You can just select the kind of black or bluish colour on your dog, and then reduce the saturation. Sometimes I'll do that. So yeah, I'll always come up here and have a quick final play before I decide I'm done. Let's see whether that looks more like the one I did before. I would say it's much more saturated. Let's go in and look at what I've done. So these are my settings. It's much more saturated than it was. Oh, and I've actually reduced the exposure here. Okay. And then her eyes are very, very bright there, aren't they? Almost maybe like too bright. Let's go back here. I feel like that looks a bit more natural. I do like it. Oh look, I've been pretty extreme. I've basically done the same thing, I would say. I just feel like maybe it's her eyes that aren't really standing out. I want them to be like glowing beacons. I don't know whether that I don't even know whether that looks natural. Yeah, I guess it does. Okay, so this is my re-edit of the original edit. I can't decide which one I like more. So that's the second one I did. And that's the first one. Let me know which one you prefer. I can't decide now. I quite like both. And then you can see what it looks like in your library. These are the ones I've edited recently. Anyway, thank you for watching. Sorry this video was so long. Maybe my future ones will get a bit better.